This PowerPoint will assist site supervisors and field instructors in understanding the process for verification of a student's field seminar timesheet. As a reminder, all timesheets are submitted and approved within the Tevera system. Students are required to submit a timesheet that is verified and signed in Tevera to their field faculty liaison by the 5th day of the month following service. What this means is for students who are in placement in February, their February timesheet must be verified and signed by their site supervisor and field instructor and submitted in Tevera no later than March 5th. It is the responsibility of the site supervisor and the field instructor to review and verify the timesheets. It is the responsibility of the site supervisor and/or field instructor to alert students to errors and request changes. It is the responsibility of the field faculty instructor or the site supervisor to alert the field faculty liaison if there are concerns about the number of hours a student is documenting or how a student is documenting those hours. It is not your responsibility to ensure that the timesheet is submitted on time. The appropriate submission on time of the timesheet falls solely on the responsibility of the student. Verification of a student's timesheet is a multi-step process. If there is a site supervisor, the first step in the process is verification of the appropriate date range. The student's date range should be from the first day of the month to the last day of the month. You will see here in this example that the student's date range is for an entire year. This would be an inappropriate date range. Therefore, as the site supervisor and/or field instructor, you would need to request changes from the student. This is simply done by hitting the Request Changes button within the Tevera process. Once you hit the Request Changes button, this box will pop up asking you. Once you hit the Request Changes button, you will see a text box that will open. This text box allows you to input what change is needed. Here's an example of telling a student that the date is out of range to please correct it and send it back. You then again hit the Request Changes button and an alert will be sent to the student that a change has been requested. Once we have verified the date range is appropriate, we must also verify the number of hours. The maximum number of hours that most students can document is 16 to 20 hours a week. Therefore, thinking in that regards, we should be looking in regards to an approximate number of hours for a total month being approximately 80 hours. You will see in the example here that the student falls at 84, but depending on the month, it may be a little bit more or it might be a little bit less. So in verification of this timesheet, it would be appropriate for you to then move on to the next step of verification. Now that we have verified the total number of hours, we need to really be looking at the hours underneath. For field instructors, we really need to be ensuring that students are documenting the supervisory conference hours. As a reminder, all students are required to have 1 hour of field supervision with their field instructor. Students are often very confused of where to put things or what buckets to put their interactions in. And again, you will see there's various things. This is an explanation of where those things may be following, from client contact with phone calls to observation of a client session. Again, in the field office, we are looking to make sure that the student is having a well-rounded placement with different buckets or areas full. But the one we are really focusing on is the mandatory 1 hour a week supervisory conference time. We do understand that there may be exceptions to this. Again, if we notice that this is not happening on a regular basis from the field faculty liaison perspective, we will reach out to you and the student for verification and to ensure that the 1 hour a week supervisory conference does occur. So we have verified the date range, the total number of hours, and the appropriate number of supervision hours. The next thing is to ensure that we are assigning the document in the appropriate order. The document should be signed by the site supervisor first, if applicable, then the field instructor, and then a field faculty liaison. An example of an improper signature order. Ms. Wilson, who is listed in this case, is the field instructor, and Ms. Messer, listed in this case, is the field faculty liaison. Therefore, the order should be reversed. Again, if the student is submitting a timesheet within the wrong order, we will request changes and ask for them to change the signatory order so that it appropriately reflects the desired order of site supervisor, field instructor, faculty field liaison. Again, for the inappropriate order, we simply hit request changes and we will enter the note of what changes needed. This will then again prompt an email to the student asking them to change and resubmit the timesheet. So as we have moved through the timesheet verification, we like to say it's easy as 1, 2, 3. With 1 being the verification of the date range, 2, verification of the time ensuring supervision hours and the total number of hours for the student, and then verifying the signatory or signature process. As you review a student's timesheet, if they have the appropriate date range, have the appropriate number of hours, including supervision hours, and have the signatures in the right order, you simply need to sign and submit the document, which will then be forwarded to the next appropriate person for their verification and signature. We thank you for supporting our students and ensuring that not only are they having a well-rounded field practicum, but also that they are appropriately documenting their time and submitting it, and showing the field faculty liaison that their time in the field is well spent with numerous activities and appropriate supervision.